Hey everyone, welcome back. This is part 4 of my GDevelop Maze series. Let's jump right in. You can see that I added in a new tile here. It's the floor tile, and I made it darker than the wall tile. And what that does is it gives a slight illusion of depth. Okay, there we go. So I definitely recommend that you make a fourth sprite. Okay, I'm going to go over here to my events tab, and you don't need to do this, but I added in some more groups and just organized my code just so it's a lot easier to see and makes a little bit more sense. Okay, so now I want a way to win the game. I need to be able to, when I come in contact with the goal object, go to the win scene. So I'm going to come over here and click on the big plus button here, the circle plus, and I'm going to choose group, and I'm going to call this group win. Good. And I'm going to add a new event. And remember, when you add a new event, see how this blue bar is off to the far left hand side? It does not belong to the group. I have to click and drag it to the right, and then it belongs to it. It has to be indented. Okay, so for my condition, I'm going to say, when the key, so I'm going to choose the key, not the K, is in collision. So I'll come down here to collision, click on that, and is in collision with the player, and then I'll just click on OK. Okay, so the condition is that when they're colliding, the action is, so the action is, we actually want two actions. So this is, we want the key to be deleted. So up here in the search, I'm just going to type in delete. And you can see right here, delete the object. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I want to delete the key. Say OK, and I now have that action. But then I also want to go to the win scene. So I'm going to click on add action again. And I could come over here to where it says other actions and go looking for it. And it would be under the category scene. And you can see that you have a whole bunch here. Stop and go back to previous scene, pause and start a new scene, quit the game. We want change the scene. You could also search for the word change and find it as well. And so now it's going to give me a list of the scenes that I have available, and I want it to go to the scene called win. It does have to be in quotes, but it should do that for you automatically. Say OK. All right. So now to test this out, I'll go ahead. When you're testing this code out, you can play your game the entire time, but just to test it real quickly, just move your player temporarily closer to the goal object, so that way you're not taking forever. Okay, so there's the goal, collide with it, and you can see I'm now in the new scene, which has nothing. Okay, good. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and open up my win scene. So you're going to come over here and you're going to click on this first button here called the Project Manager. Close that. There we go. So I'll double click on my win scene, and now I have both scenes open. I've got maze, maze events, win, and win events, and there's nothing there, of course. I'm going to go to my win scene here, and I'm going to go ahead and add a new object, and I'm going to start off with some text. And we'll just call this win text. And you see you have some basic options here. If you want to get into more visual options, you probably should make a sprite in another paint program like Piskel or Krita or Photoshop or something else like that. Okay, so we have a few options here. I'm just going to go ahead and type in a basic message telling the player that they've won and that they can play again. All right, so real quickly, I have the text here, you won, play again, question mark. Colors black, and then I have bold and italic options. If you click on font here, this is not going to let you choose a whole bunch of fonts. You have to actually go find it. I will show that at a little bit of a later time because I am teaching students in a computer lab. So it's a little bit different than at home. If you're at home, you could go ahead and click this and you'd have to navigate to a downloaded font or your fonts folder on your computer. All right, so you'll see I've got 2 lines of text, and I'm going to click on apply and just drag it out. And it's not quite centered. If you want to center it, you have to go back in, and there is no centering option. You sort of have to get in there and maybe press the space bar once or twice. So it's not the best text editor. Okay, so that's a little bit better there. And I think I'll go ahead and make it double in size. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it clearly could use a lot of nice graphics. I'm going to go ahead and make a little button here that the player has to put their mouse over and click, and then it will go back to the other scene. So let's do that. Okay, so to make the play button, I'm going to go up here to add new object. It is going to be a sprite. And add an animation. Edit with Piskel. I think Piskel will do this just fine. Now, this time, the size is going to be different. I'm going to make the style of a sort of a classic pill or capsule style button. So if you haven't already, click on this little resize button right here. And I want it to be wider than it is high. So I want mine to be, I want the width to be 128 pixels wide. Oops. And you'll notice that as soon as I change the width button, the height button changes also. That's because of this first checkbox here. So I'm going to uncheck that, and I'm going to make my height 64 pixels, and the width is double. I'm going to check on resize canvas content, even though there's nothing there, and I'm going to click on resize. Okay, so there we are. So now I have a rectangle. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so there's a tool here called the vertical mirror pen, and this one's pretty cool. When you draw with it, you can see that whatever I draw on the right side gets done on the left side, and so I'm gonna use that definitely. If you hover your mouse pointer over it, you'll see that it says that if you hold down certain keys, it will change things. So I'm on a Mac, and so it says if you hold down the command key, it will use the horizontal axis. So if I hold down the command key and I draw up here at the top, it will draw down there at the bottom. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to hold down the command key. I believe on a Windows machine, it would be the control key. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a straight line. Let me try that one again. And you know what, since I'm on a trackpad, which is really tough, I'm just going to bring in another tool. This is called the stroke tool, and it does just that. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag, and I'll get a nice straight line, something like that. Okay, come down here, click and drag. Now I don't know if they're exactly lined up. There's no real snapping. It looks like I'm off by a little bit. I could have gotten into layers, but I'm not quite ready to show that to my class just yet. I'm going to go ahead now, grab the vertical mirror pen. And I'm going to go ahead and make some rounded corners. All right, so what I did was I settled on using the stroke tool again to make these vertical lines. And then I come up here to the vertical mirror pen. And I'm going to go ahead and try to connect the dots. And then I'll clean it up. Okay, so it's got some bumps and wobbles. I'm on a trackpad. I would rather have my stylus and tablet, but this is what I have. Okay, so here's my melted, wobbly looking button. I'm going to go ahead and click on the paint bucket tool. I'll choose a color. Now, you of course can go ahead and we can choose, maybe a little lighter color here. You could add in a little bit of highlight and shine, just give it a little sense of depth. So that could go a long way. And then you could go ahead and go a little darker in your values. Just give it a little bit more of a rounded feel. Okay. Save. Okay, and I think that'll be big enough to see. I will remake this button again, and I'll spend a little bit more time on it when I have better drawing tools. Okay, so now I want to add in some text. I'm just going to go ahead and add a new text object. We'll play. And change the size to 40. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to set it up so that when you click on the button with your mouse, you will go back to the beginning. Okay, so I'm going to go over here to the Win Events. I'm going to add a new event, add a condition, and the first condition is going to be related to the mouse. So I'm going to go ahead and search mouse. And you've got these choices right here. We want mouse button is press or touch held. And then you're going to choose the option and you want the left mouse button. Say OK. I'm going to go to add action. And we want to search the term change. And we're going to do change the scene like we did before. And we're going to go back to the maze scene. Click OK. Okay, so now the problem is that I can click anywhere and it will work. What I want is I want it to only click and go to the scene when the player is over the play button. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to add in a second condition, and you're going to search the term cursor, as in mouse cursor, and we want the cursor touch is on an object. Okay, and when it mentions touch, that's if you're doing a mobile device like a tablet or a phone, and we want the object to be the play button, and we're going to click on OK. Okay, so it has to have both of these conditions have to be true for it to then change the scene. So now when I press play, if you see me clicking out here, it does not work. Only when I click on the play button does it go back. Okay. Okay, so that's going to be it for this tutorial. But now that you know how to get from scene to scene, you don't have to stop it after one level. You could have the player get in contact with a door or a gem or something, or a key, and then go to level 2, and then go to level 3 and level 4, and then go to a win scene to make the game much more fun and challenging. All right, I will see you next time. In the next video, I will add in some music, and I'll add in some lighting effects. All right, thanks very much, and I'll see you next time.